Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in tonight. Thomas Hyman here, and this is being broadcast simultaneously on Periscope as well as on Google Hangouts. So thank you so much for taking the time to join me, and please feel free to introduce yourself on Periscope. I know this is a fairly new tool for real estate agents to use, but I really believe as a real estate professional, you need to become familiar with this tool and start to embrace it. Again, my name is Thomas Hyman. I'm the founder and CEO of Realty Partners. And most importantly, I consider myself an entrepreneur. And today, what I want to do is kick off a 6-day, actually it's a 6+1 day training program on how to build a 6-figure business in real estate. And like I said, I'm broadcasting this simultaneously on Periscope as well as on Google Hangout. So if you're on Periscope, feel free to post questions, and if I catch them, I will be happy to answer them for you. And if you are on Google Hangout, you will be able to also post some questions on the right-hand sidebar. This is somewhat of an experiment to see really where it lands with respect to social media engagement for this type of training. And as we move forward in the coming days, it's going to get a lot more interactive. And so if you happen to be live on the training, you'll be able to interact with me in a way that obviously is not possible if you come in after the fact as a recording. I will promote this on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to see the recorded sessions that you may have missed in order, and I will post it after the event is done. So again, my name is Thomas Hyman. A little bit of information about myself. Like I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I have been an entrepreneur, started my first company when I was 17 years old. And really in the mid 90s, I really hit my first home run, so to speak. I've always been a technology geek, and I got involved with online services very early on. And so in the mid 90s, when the internet started to take off, I actually built one of the world's first internet web hosting company and then the world's first e-commerce hosting provider, providing e-commerce hosting solutions to literally tens of thousands of businesses in 30 plus countries. And I ended up selling that business in the late 90s. Actually merged it with another company. The company then went public, and I co-founded an incubator, and I really stayed in the technology field until the early 2000s. And at that point, I started to get burned out. I was on the road all the time, and I was looking for something else to do. And as an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur like me, you're always scanning the horizon for what kind of opportunities are out there, and what kind of challenge maybe there may excite you. And so in 2003, I got involved with real estate and started to build a business in real estate. And I decided to build a team. I joined RE/MAX, and in this local market here, which at the time, the top agent team did maybe 40 transactions a year. I actually went ahead and did 93 transactions in my first full year with RE/MAX, and went on to build a very, very successful business. At that time, my average transaction size was right about $350,000. So you do the math. It was a very, very successful business. And the thing that I learned in the process really is that business is business is business. And that really is what helped me become successful, because I treated it as a business. I looked at who are the top agents in the country, what are they doing differently than everyone else, and then modeled that and implemented that. And from day one, I treated my real estate business as a business. And if you want to build a 6-figure business or even a 7-figure business in real estate, you really need to start out with the mindset that this is a business and I'm going to treat it as a business. So today is the kickoff. It's the foundation for building a 6-figure business. And I've done a couple of video presentations recently on building a 6-figure real estate business. One was the 6-figure mindset, the psychology you really need to have in order to be successful and and build a six-figure business in any endeavor. And another presentation dealt with creating a budget. How do you really build a budget for a six-figure real estate practice, kind of like a 30,000-foot view. So I'm not going to go back into those things. I invite you to go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Realty Partners LLC, and you'll see a ton of resources. And my passion really is training and coaching. So I'm putting this out for anyone and everyone, whether you're part of Realty Partners or not, or you're interested in it or not, or you're in Florida or in another state, doesn't make a difference to me at all. I'm going to, treat you the same way and provide the same value, hopefully. So this session is the kickoff session. Like I said, it's going to be 6+1 days. And I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on what to expect in the coming days as we, go through the program. Today is the foundation, and we're going to talk about creating a predictable revenue stream. What really makes a business. And I think that's key, because unfortunately, the things that I find in the real estate business today is, number one, most agents are sloppy. They have a horrible standard when it comes to their professionalism or their business, and business is not being done at the highest level. The exception are the outstanding, successful, exceptional professionals that are doing very, very well. So I'm going to touch on that, and I'm going to give you some clues on what it takes to really build a successful business. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the two key areas of focus. You really need to structure your business, and you need to structure your pillars of revenue sources. Then we're going to move on to listings. As a real estate professional, if you want to build a sustainable business and a high volume practice, you need to lead with listings. So we're going to spend 2 days on listings, the why, the how, how to generate listings, marketing plans, and so forth, why it is critical to lead with listings. And then we're going to talk about the mechanics. How do you present yourself? How do you take listings? How do you go about promoting those listings? How do you work from the pre-listing to the post-closing process? And that is so incredible. When I first got into the business and built my real estate business, my team, I obviously didn't have any listings. So in those days, you had to do print marketing. So real estate book, Homes and Net magazine, those type of things were absolutely critical to build your business. So I literally went around the office, and I even talked to other agents and other companies and asked for permission to market their listings and advertise their listings. And in those days, I hit the ground running, literally with 2 full-page ads in Homes and Net magazine to start my real estate business. So there are some things that you need to do if you want to build a high-volume business. I was very fortunate enough to be able to hit the ground running and make a significant investment. Many people aren't able to do that. So we're going to talk about that too, how to get started on a step-by-step fashion. The next 2 days are going to be about the buyer side. Buyer agency is incredibly important. Attracting buyers, how to attract buyers and how to keep them. What's the psychology of the buyer? How to use buyer agency properly. Having a powerful buyer presentation. And what to do to really make the buyers love you is so incredibly important. And then the 7th session, the plus session, is going to be a bonus session that I will put together at the end that really deals with creating a plan of action and getting clear on your whys. And a wise person once said, if your why is big enough, then the how will fall into place. And then how to create a business plan, goal setting, etc., to set you off on the road to success. So that's kind of an overview on what we're going to discuss. But today is about the presentation, the foundation. And when we're talking about what does it truly take to create a 6-figure business for yourself, I want to be totally brutally honest with you. Because everyone talks about, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great to have a 6-figure business? And the truth is, you can. Right now, I am, semi-retired really, but I'm working as a non-competing broker. I started Realty Partners. I'm the founder and CEO. I do not work with buyers and sellers anymore. But if I wanted to get into real estate as an agent right now, pretty much starting back out at zero, I know that I can build a 6-figure and even 7-figure business in this industry in relatively short order. And at the core, it's really about projecting yourself as a business person and being committed to being truly outstanding. In this market here, where I'm at, there are about 5,100 Realtor members in the association. And without doubt, there are maybe 25 exceptional professionals. There are maybe 50 excellent/outstanding professionals, and everyone else is just in the average mill. And that's really sad. So if you want to build a high volume business, you need to make a commitment to yourself that you're going to play at the highest level, that you're going to treat it as serious as it needs to be, because building a successful business that will generate a 6-figure profit for you every year is a serious matter. And you cannot take it lightly. You're going to have to do certain things a certain way in order to achieve that. And today, the real estate profession really is practiced by most in a kind of hit and miss fashion. Sometimes you have a couple of up months, you run into some people, you land a couple of deals, you make a bunch of money, then you're going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 months of nothing, then you're going to have a couple of up months again. And it's this roller coaster ride. There's no real structure to it. There's no real security or predictable stream of business there. And imagine if you had a restaurant and you have a couple of friends that come in once in a while, and so your restaurant is half full, you have a few tables, you do some business, and then there's nothing, and nobody comes to see you in your restaurant for weeks on end. Then maybe something happens, or you meet some people, or you run a little ad, and then you get a couple of people coming in, and you have a few tables, you make some decent money one night, and then it dies again, and then you get the holidays, and of course everyone does great in the holidays, and then it dies off again. You wouldn't stay in business, and if you had a cash cushion to get started with it, your restaurant would just run you dry, and you'd be out of business very quickly. So the real estate profession is practiced like that, unfortunately, by most people. And if you've been in the business for a while, you'll have to admit that. I interview agents, and I really am a big believer that anyone can achieve anything they set their mind to. And I ask them, what is your first year goal? And a lot of them tell me, my first year goal is that I want to make $150,000 in real estate. And I take I lean back and say, okay, I think that's great. And what are you going to do to make that happen? To make $150,000, even if there were zero expenses, you still are going to have to do a sizable business. You're going to have to do about $5 million in transaction volume to bring in $150,000 in gross commission. So, and most agents that I talk to don't really have an answer to that. So hopefully this program is going to give you an answer to that. When you look at the top leaders in the industry, people that are doing 100, 200, 500, 1,000 transactions a year, without exception, they treat their business as a business and run it as a business. Also, when you look at the top leaders that maybe don't do that many transactions, but they focus on the super high end, that do 20, 40, 60, $80 million a year in transaction volume, and maybe each transaction is $5 to $10 million. So they might only do half a dozen or a dozen transactions a year, but they have something in common. They treat their business as a business and run it like a business. And so let's talk about that. What does it really mean to have a business and to run it as a business? What is really the difference between a real estate independent contractor gig where you make some money sometimes and you make no money other times, and you have this constant up and down, and maybe if you're lucky, on average you're going to hit that $40,000 to $50,000 gross commission revenue, which then translates into maybe $25,000 in actual net income. Now, how do you go from there to really running a business? And my definition is as follows. Number one, when you have a business, it kind of is an organism on its own. It runs by itself. It depends on roles, but it doesn't depend on you ultimately. Now, when you first get started, it's kind of a startup, and yes, it does depend on you, and you're going to be wearing all of the hats, but ultimately the goal has to be that the business runs by itself and it depends on certain roles, but not on you ultimately. You might be the rainmaker, but you can step away and the business still runs. Ask yourself this: if you right now took a 6-week vacation or something happened and you were gone for 6 or 8 weeks, what would happen to your business? Would it still perform at the same level or maybe even better? The second thing is that it generates a predictable income and revenue stream. And we're going to have to ask ourselves, how do we get to that? So if you have a 6-figure successful real estate business, that business would generate a predictable income and revenue stream continuously. So you would know that you're going to net $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year or $300,000 a year, or whatever that might be. And to get that, you need to have, certain mechanics in place. Your lead generation has to be there. Your lead conversion has to be there. Your service delivery has to be there. You have to have things on automatic pilot, and they need to happen every time, all the time, the same way, or you're not going to have a predictable income and revenue stream. And an interesting thing is, when you look at agents that do a lot of volume, at some point, virtually all of them are running as a team, because there's only so much you can do by yourself. You're not going to do 500 transactions by yourself. But when you look from someone that is doing 200 transactions to someone that is doing, let's say, 600 transactions, they really only apply a multiplier. So they're doing the same things that they were doing at 100 or 200 transactions. They're just doing more of it, okay? So if you're having certain marketing campaigns that produce a certain result, let's say you have a couple of farm areas that you do something with that are going to generate X listings a year, which are the result of so many listing appointments and so many inquiries generating to so many listings per year, you can expand that. If you're mailing to 500 a month, you can mail to 1,000 a month, you can mail to 1,500 a month, you can mail to 2,000 a month, and so you can grow that. If you're doing Google AdWords or pay-per-click or Facebook marketing to generate leads, and right now you're spending, let's say, $500 a month, and you're producing a certain result as, in response, you could double that, you could triple that, you could quadruple that. If you're in a small market, you might expand into another market nearby. So those are the multipliers, the force multipliers that are being applied. So if you have a business and a process that allows you to do, let's say, 100 deals a year, then you can ratchet that up, unless you're living in a small village where you already captured the vast majority of the market, in which case you would have to then expand into other market areas. But you will be able to amp up or amp down your business, and it's completely up to you. Once you have a business that has a predictable revenue stream, you actually start to build an asset. And as in any business, the value of the asset is driven by the income that's generated. If you look at how much a business is worth, and there's a great book that I have here in my office. It's called the Business Reference Guide. And it talks about how much a business is worth, any kind of business. And if you want to send me a message, I'll be happy to send you a screenshot on where to get this. It's probably about $150. But whether you have a dry cleaning business, or you have a restaurant, or you have a real estate brokerage, or a title company, or a hotel, or a software company, it doesn't really matter. There are certain multipliers that are being utilized to value a business, and virtually all of them are driven by your revenue and or your net profits. Okay, so you don't have an asset. Your business has zero value unless there's predictability. If you have a predictable business, a predictable income stream, a predictable revenue stream, then you have a true business. Up until that point, you really just have a job. And so the goal is to build a business that actually becomes an asset at some point. And once you have that in place, you actually could sell that business down the road. You could sell your real estate practice. It does become about, if you have a business that is consistently producing, let's say, $150,000 in net profit per year, and you have a 5-year track record of always hitting those numbers consistently, and it's no longer driven by you, but by the processes and systems that you have in place, then you could sell that business. You could take on a partner on your team and then slowly transition things over. Or you may find someone else that is going to take over your business. So there is the possibility of actually having an asset that you can then do something with. So again, a 6-figure business means a business that is going to generate a predictable 6-figure net profit for you. And we're going to talk about just hitting that $100,000 net profit before taxes. You can employ, force multipliers to drive that up from there. If you're making $100,000 right now, you might learn a few things that will allow you then to amp it up to $250,000 or $500,000. If you don't have the resources right now to apply a force multiplier to get to that higher level, we'll get you to 60, 80, 100,000, and then you need to reinvest, of course, and you can, drive it up from there. So really your desire and your why, we're going to get to that in session number 7, is going to really determine how far you want to take it. So how do you create a predictable revenue stream? And that's what, the coming 5 sessions are really going to be about. It's going to be an informal setting. I'm going to have some visuals, some slides, but primarily it's going to be me talking to you and giving you some ideas and some food for thought and challenging you to take some notes and implement that in your business. For right now, for today, as we went over the foundation of what it really takes to have a 6-figure business, I want you to be really brutally honest with yourself. And I would like you to take out your notepad and just make some discoveries. Number 1, how could you perform in your business at a higher level, more professional, more driven, more aggressive? What could you do to take things up a notch if you wanted to? If you're right now just at average, being brutally honest, you're doing what everyone else is doing, that's the definition of average, how could you make it outstanding? If you believe truly that you are right now outstanding and performing at an outstanding level, how can you take it up a notch and make it absolutely excellent? Who in your marketplace are some of the leading agents that you look up to, and what are they doing differently in the way they present themselves, in the way they target maybe a different market segment, in the way they promote themselves? Just some food for thought to kick things off. And then I want you to ask yourself, what would your life be like if you truly had a predictable income stream and revenue stream? If you really ran your business as a business where you are CEO of your real estate practice and you knew that you would be making a net profit of $100,000, $200,000 every single year because you had a system in place that allows you to get there. What would your life look like if that was the case? Again, the next 5+1 sessions are going to talk about the mechanics and specifically how to, put in place these systems and processes. And tomorrow is really going to set the stage with that, because we're going to focus on the 2 main areas that you need to implement or put in place. One is the structure within your business, the processes that are so important, And the other one is having multiple pillars of revenue generation, where you don't have just all your eggs in one basket, or all your business coming from one strategy or from one source, which is always a recipe for disaster. But for today, let's just focus on the basics. What would it mean for you to get there? Because if you can come up with some good reasons, then you will do what is necessary to make it happen. And I'm not going to lie to you. It's not easy to build a six-figure business. There's no get-rich-quick fast track here. You know, many years ago in New York, I went to a presentation. I've always been attracted to these opportunity kind of events, network marketing, MLM, startups, because I'm always attracted to, you know, new ideas or new thoughts, or, you know, what are people up to? I read every day, you know, about startups and new things that are happening. And I met this lady, and she said something to me that really stuck with me. She said, Thomas, at the counter of success, you always have to pay full retail. There are no shortcuts. So if you're not willing to do what it takes to build a six-figure income, then you're wasting your time, and this presentation isn't for you. But if you are the rare person that truly is looking for a way to make that happen, then I'm going to provide you with the tools and know-how to make that happen. If you haven't watched the 2 videos yet that I mentioned earlier on our YouTube channel, the six-figure mindset and the six-figure budget, then I challenge you to go and watch those. They're both about half an hour in length. And then I will see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. If you have a question that you would like me to address right now, please feel free to post your question on Hangout or here on Periscope. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. And again, I'm going to record these things. I'm going to make them available after the event is done. But I really would like you to be engaged. And as we're digging into these things, you may have some questions. And I cannot stress enough how valuable it is for you to actually be able to respond to that and post some questions and get your concerns addressed in a live setting, as opposed to, you know, just watching your recording after the fact. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in. It's now about 9:30. Like I said, the sessions are going to be half an hour to 60 minutes. Tomorrow is probably going to be 30 to 45 minutes. When we get to the listing side and buyer side, those will probably be some longer sessions. And please be prepared as we get started tomorrow with a notepad and things to write down, because we're going to cover a lot of different ideas. And my goal is to give you food for thought to come up with, you know, some great strategies and things you can implement right away on your own. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Thomas Hyman, and I look forward to connecting with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.